Hello everyone, I'm Allan Carson and welcome to the latest installment of the World Nuclear Association video series on innovation. In this series, we will be asking leading industry figures about what is needed to facilitate nuclear innovation and bring new technologies to market quicker. The demonstration of advanced and small modular reactors over the next few years will mark the beginning of a profound change in the nuclear technology landscape. However, innovation is not only about technology, but also encompasses areas such as regulation, financing, and communication, all areas that are currently preventing nuclear energy from reaching its full potential. With that, I am pleased and excited to be joined today by Gilles Rodriguez, Technical Director of the Generation 4 International Forum. Gilles, welcome and thank you very much for taking this time to talk to us.
Okay, thank you, Allan. Yes, I'm very pleased to attend this innovative way of exchanging. I'm working at CEA, Atomic Energy Commission, and since 2019, I'm the technical director of the Generation 4 International Forum, which name is GIF. So we are working on 6 systems for the next generation of nuclear reactors. For my whole life, I'm specialized in sodium fast reactors and Gen 4 reactors. So working on design, operating these reactors, decommissioning these reactors. And so I've made a lot of things on this kind of reactors, sodium fast reactors, gas fast reactors, and lead fast reactors as well. Another thing also I made is some studies on massive production of hydrogen with nuclear heat. This is something that is seen as an innovative process for the future for these Gen 4 reactors. And so since 2019, I'm trying to make the animation of the Gen 4 as a technical director, which is a challenge, very interesting challenge. So moving forward for the 6 system for the future.
Okay, great. Thank you. It's a very interesting and diverse background you have, Gilles, and I would like to start by asking you about your role as technical director at GIF. You're very much at the forefront of supporting the development of the technology that will support the next generation of nuclear reactors. And I was wondering if you could elaborate further on some of the areas of innovation that are being researched and what benefits they may bring.
So, in fact, on Gen 4 International Forum, we are working in parallel to 6 systems. 6 innovative systems that we believe to be important or interesting for the 4th generation of reactors. So today, PWR, pressurized water reactors, are considered as Gen 3 reactors, and Gen 4 are advanced reactor. We call them also like sodium fast reactor, lead molten salt reactor, gas fast reactor, supercritical water reactor, and I'm always forgetting one, but very high temperature reactors. So we are working in parallel with these 6 systems. And so we are making innovation. Some of these systems are quite mature because they already have some operating systems. Sodium fast reactor, for instance, or high temperature reactors. Some others are challenging, and so there are some innovative systems by themselves. Molten salt reactor was studied in the 50s. A small scale, but we want to raise them at higher scales, and so it's quite a challenge. So some of these systems are already innovative by their concept. Even for the mature systems, of course, we are making to improve them, so to make some innovation to improve in the way of having a higher safety, higher efficiency, or sometimes cost reduction, so higher benefits also. And so we are going and making some R&D roadmap, considering the technical readiness level of every systems, and also to see the target we want to have to every systems. But this is not the case, because this is not only the fact, because in that case, we'll say that we have only 6 systems working in parallel with no interconnection between them. And so we have made also some cross-cutting working groups or task force where there was some common shared challenges on reactor safety, on economics, on safety design criteria, safety design standards, proliferation resistance and physical protections. So we have some kind of cross-cutting systems where we can share the knowledge and when we can see beyond some innovative system that could gain to all the 6 systems. And two specific task force are completely devoted to innovation. One is called Advanced Manufacturing and Material Engineering Task Force. So we are thinking that all the things that we can do on materials, the new way of buildings, materials, will be a gain for all the 6 systems for the future. And the second one, which has been created just 1 month before, is called non-electrical application of nuclear heat, because we all believe that tomorrow we will not have to deliver only electricity, but nuclear heat also for all the system to decarbonize all the energy mix.
Thank you. It really sounds like there's some fascinating research going on across all technological areas, including new areas and new markets for nuclear power to develop into. But I was also wondering if there are any non-technical aspects that will require innovation to support these new designs coming to market.
Yes, of course, there is. When we think about the future nuclear energy context or energy mix, the role of nuclear reactor will be also to provide flexibility. And so this is, when you say not flexibility is not technical, but after you have to translate this word into technical systems. So the flexibility of this reactor will be to adapt to the energy grid, to see how we can adjust the intermittency of renewables, for instance, because in the fourth generation, in 2030s, in 2040s, the amount of renewables will be very increasing and very important. And so we have to adjust it with the nuclear reactor flexibility. Another one, which is not completely defined to technical, is a lifetime extension of these reactors. So it's much more related when you think about this, about economics, of course. So if you can extend the lifetime of a reactor from 10 years, of course, money earning is very important. And so you have to define after and to determine technically what is a lifetime extension. And another point which is also very important is to see how we can manage to work with regulators and to make them accepted what we are doing with regulators. So working on code and standards, working on knowledge transmission, for me, is also a way to make some innovation. We are always working with long times. Where we talk about a nuclear reactors, roughly 10 years construction. We hope to have 60 years operating and then 10 to 20 years decommissioning. So this long time is longer than a job man working. So we have to make this transmission. And it is very important to think about the long time. And this is also where we have to make some innovation about the knowledge transmission from the young generation to the, from the old generation to the young generation, because you have not one person who will live from the first day until the last day of a nuclear reactor. This is very important.
No, that's very true. And you know, we've sort of touched on the technical challenges and the non-technical challenges, and I just wonder if, just to follow on from that, if I was to ask you to identify one challenge that you thought was critical to the success of accelerating deployment of these reactor types and getting them to market more quickly, what would that one challenge be?
What is very interesting in your questions that you refer innovation to the concept of time. You say quickly and you say to accelerate. And so I'm showing your views that today the difficult point is the relationship of nuclear reactor with time. When I came at the Generation 4 International Forum, I had present my point of view of what I wanted to develop on this organization. And I was saying our first enemy is time. Because time is running so fast, it's changing very quickly. At the same time, as I said, a nuclear reactor has to be seen for a very long time. And some people have the possibility to stop the time. Regulators, safety authorities, they can stop your time. And it can give you a difficult situation. So I try to think what could be our relationship with time. And it was, for me, for nuclear reactors, something which is the main challenge. We are talking about climate crisis, climate urgency. So we say going faster and faster and faster. But you have to manage how I can behave in front of time. And so now, if you allow me, I will make a little bit of philosophy. We are only talking of time. In French, it's le temps. In English, it's time. In the Greek mythology, there was 3 aspects of time: chronos, kairos, and aion. Chronos is a physical time. Is a god to say that this is a physical time that you can measure by days, by minutes, by seconds, by years. So this is what we call time usually. Chronos is this one. So this is the one we try to follow. And when you make some management, you make roadmap, you make this kind of things, schedule, etc. Kairos is a opportunist time. Is a god to say at this present time, you have to grab Kairos because it is the right place at the right moment. And this is where you have to put your innovation. I have to find the key ideas right now because this is the context we say, now I need to make this. Exactly. And Kairos is very important to make innovative action, to see the trends, to see how it will evolve, and to say, for instance, we have to change our vision of nuclear reactors to make small modular reactors, for instance, to dedicate them for non-electrical application of nuclear heat. These kind of things was not discussed 20 years ago because Kairos was not here 20 years ago. It was not the context. Now it is the context. So we have to grab Kairos for SMRs coupled with non-electrical application of nuclear heat. So this is another god of time that we have to respect when you want to make innovation. But there is the third one, which is also very important. It is called Aion. And Aion is a god of the cyclic time, of the long time. So you have to compare Aion to knowledge capitalization and knowledge management. And if you ignore Aion, you can reinvent the wheel. And this is not innovation. So we have not to run with against the time, but we have to work with the 3 gods of time: Chronos, Kairos, and Aion. And this is something you have still to keep in mind when you want to make innovation. You have to see the schedule and the roadmap. You have to grab the opportunist time, but you have also to take care not to forget what you have done before.
Fantastic. That's a really interesting and fascinating perspective. I really didn't think I'd be talking about Greek mythology today. And I like the way that you've linked the different concepts of time with the different phases of research and different phases of the project. I think that works really well. And I'd love to discuss it in more detail with you, but unfortunately, I think we're somewhat limited by time today.
We can spend hours making philosophy, but it is not the context, sorry.
No, it's great. And thank you for the perspective. But just keeping that concept of time in mind, today there appears to be 2 main approaches to innovation. On the one hand, you've got the state-based approach which is prevalent in Russia and China. And on the other hand, you've got the startup public-private partnerships that we see in the US and Canada. I'd be really interested from your perspective, which of these two approaches do you think will be most successful at accelerating innovation and getting these new designs to market?
Your question is difficult. You know, I'm technical director. I'm representing several countries, more than about 13 countries. So I will not say you who is the best. First, because I really don't know, and it is not my job to say who is the best. But I will try to explain you a little bit, maybe with an analogy, what is the thing. My view is we are all in a race. And this race cannot be compared like a 100 meters race, because it's not a straight line with all the person on the same line and the first who arrive has win. We have to consider it as a sailboat race. When you think about a sailboat race, you go from one point to another point, but the road is not defined, because the road is depending on the external context and constraints also. And all these countries has not the same policy. They have not the same constraints. So of course, on a sailboat, the weather is the same for everybody. But here they have not the same constraints, the same policy, and the same approach about industry. So it's very difficult to say who will arrive first. And maybe the objective is not to say who will arrive first, but who will arrive safely to the end point. We have not one unique solution, but we have several. So in US, of course, it's very filled with the political organization of this country. In Russia and China, what they are developing is very connected with their political development. And in France, so we are in a middle situation, says that some part of R&D is paid by the government, and you have also a part which is private. So this race, you have to consider it as a sailboat race with external constraints, and we'll see at the end who will win or who will arrive first at the end point. Our job in GIF is not to say you have win, you have lost, it's just to provide to all these countries some tools to arrive safely to the end point, and for sure to the end point. So to provide them some white papers on safety, on proliferation resistance and physical properties, to think about new technologies that we can share, etc., etc. So we know that we are in a race, but in GIF, we have to help them and not to design who will win at the end.
Thank you very much. I think that analogy about the sailboat race is very true, and it's a really helpful reminder that we must be cognizant of the impact that external factors can have on the route that we end up taking to the finish line. Now, finally, I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal ball, if that's okay. And if we were to repeat this discussion in 10 years' time, what topics or areas of nuclear innovation would you like to be discussing, or do you think would be most prevalent?
If we say that we can list the huge amount of innovative systems that we have implemented in the nuclear reactors, but all these innovative systems were not developed only for nuclear, but for science in general, I think it will be the best things that we have done. Because in that case, it would mean that we have taken the opportunity to all the efficient worldwide R&D that was developed in technique to implement it inside a nuclear reactor. And so in that case, we save time, we save money, and we were efficient. And so it is something I really would like to have. So of course, we are talking about, and we are thinking about advanced manufacturing, which is not only devoted to nuclear reactor. We are talking also about artificial intelligence and all this kind of cross-cutting subject. And we can say that the huge list of systems has been implemented now in nuclear reactors. So we have made a good job in that case, 10 years after. If I'm coming back to 10 years before, when I was younger, 10 years before, and I'm going back to what I was doing, at that time I was a project leader in nuclear technology. my feeling is 10 years before, sometimes I was a little bit frustrated because I was developing very interesting and innovative system, but that was not accepted for budget for the future. So in fact, I had developed some systems, but Kairos was not here. So it was not the opportunist time. And so there was no continuation of the system, at least in France, and where in the labs that I was developing. I can say one of them, for instance, it was supercritical CO2 cycles. I was very fond of these systems, but the budget was not extended in France. It was extended in some other countries. So when I was younger, I was saying, oh, they do not understand what I was making, and so I do not have the budget, and I was very frustrated. Now I'm 10 years old, so I get a little bit more wisdom. And so I should say that sometimes what is making the decision is to be attractive and communicative, and not being only in science. Because the decision makers and the financiers, they are sometimes not scientists, and you have to spend time to be attractive. That's all. And so this is something 10 years ago I should have made better in order to develop my ideas. So once again, a relationship with time, you have, of course, to define what is important, what is interesting for the future, but you have also to define how I will sell this, but selling not with money, but with attractivity. To say, this is Kairos, to say, I'm taking this opportunity because I'm trusting to these innovative systems. And so this is a big challenge when you talk about innovation. We're starting with a small budget. You see that it is very interesting, and after you want to increase your budget to develop it. And when the slope is rising and going up, in that case, you have to be very convincing to have the money back and to have the money makers supporting you. And it is a big challenge that you have to take into account anytime. Innovation and science, it's a good thing, but you have to be convincing to the other person that what you are making is the best solution for the future.
That's great, and another really interesting insight. And for one, I'm really happy that you are in front and center of trying to take advantage of Kairos now that it is here or nearly here, and hope that we can drive some of these innovations to market as soon as possible. I would like to thank you again for a really interesting discussion, and I hope that everybody watching has taken as much from it as I definitely have. It's certainly not every day that I get to talk about the Greek gods of time during working hours. So thank you again.
Okay, thank you, Allan. So yes, maybe final words. 2 years before, maybe I will not make so many philosophy or analogy. I think that COVID situation has changed our life a lot, because the relationship with time has very changed. And today, just to draw a conclusion, I would say something which is quite complex. So the COVID has made a very complex relationship with time, because we were all, or most of us, at home, and all the day was very usually the same, and so the relationship with time was very complex. At the same time, because of COVID, there was an urgency to say we need very quickly the vaccines, etc. And so, in fact, everything has changed. Our relationship with time has changed. And for me, it was necessary to go back to a little bit to philosophy to understand what I was living right now, because I could not understand what I was living. So I just wanted to show you a very last philosophy approach, going back to the gods of time. Today, the situation in all the society is we are dedicating everything to the present time. Right now, we want everything right now. I want something, I take it on Amazon, I upload it, I have it right now. The vaccine, I want it right now because I have the urgency, and everything is right now. So we are working in a phase that the only time which is matter is the present time. But if you are living like this, you cannot live, you cannot survive, because you have to integrate the whole time, and the present time is giving you stress and angst, and you have to be a little bit more relaxed from this one, otherwise you will drive crazy. So it's the reason why when you feel stressed or angst, think about the gods, Chronos, Chaos, and Aeon, to reposition your situation with time. So if we are talking about project management, Chronos is the management time, Chaos, opportunist time, and Aeon, knowledge management time. And you have to dedicate a part of your time to these three goals in order to feel a little bit relaxed. And this is also how you can see the future and innovation.
Well, thank you, Gilles. I think I might be spending some of my weekends thinking about my relationship with time. So if you enjoyed this video and would like to hear more about nuclear innovation, don't forget to check out further videos in this series on World Nuclear Association social media platforms. In addition, this video will be available on www.worldnuclearforum.com, where you can also find out more information about our upcoming eForum on Innovation taking place on the 23rd of June, during which the exciting panel will be elaborating further on some of these topics. Well, unfortunately, that's all we have time for. I'd like to thank you again for watching, and stay safe.